Now another dark horse candidate may emerge ahead of next Tuesday's New Hampshire primary. At least that's what he's hoping. Former Utah Governor Jon Huntsman firmly planting his flag in the Granite State. He's been there campaigning tirelessly. He skipped a debate or two to be in New Hampshire, and he's been there ever since. Similar sort of route to what he hopes will be a good showing that Santorum took. Similar way of going about it. Take a look at the Real Clear Politics average right now for the polls in New Hampshire. Currently, he ranks 4th, just over 10%. So can he make up that ground and knock out the folks that are in between him and the top in New Hampshire? Joining me now is the Republican presidential candidate and former Utah Governor Jon Huntsman, also the former U.S. ambassador to China under President Obama. Good to see you again, Governor Huntsman. Welcome.
Thanks, Martha. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So tell me, what did you think? You were probably watching Iowa on TV like the rest of us last night, or participating and watching the whole thing. What did you think of what happened there?
Well, I was struck by the fact that 75% of those who voted basically rejected the establishment's favorite, Mitt Romney, which suggests to me that there's a lot of open space in this election, not only in Iowa, not only in New Hampshire, but indeed throughout the United States. And that means that people are still looking for a new generation of leader who's going to be able to problem solve around our economic deficit, which is killing this nation and will threaten the next generation. And somebody who can tackle the trust deficit, because people in this country no longer trust their institutions of power or those who are elected to lead them. And I say, for the greatest nation that ever was, to be in this kind of position is untenable longer term. And we've got to have someone who isn't being teed up by the establishment. We've got to have somebody who gets out there on the street and earns it like we're doing in New Hampshire.
Let's talk a little bit of the politics here. Mitt Romney landed in New Hampshire just a little while ago, and the first thing that happened was that John McCain stepped in and endorsed him. Is that an endorsement that you had sought? Had you asked John McCain to endorse you in New Hampshire?
I love John McCain. John McCain's a war hero, but you know what? Another Dole, another McCain, another establishment endorsement. Martha, nobody cares. It will mean zero in terms of any poll improvement for Mitt Romney, because this nation is tired of the past. It wants something new. It wants a new approach to problem solving, not the same old thing. So the last thing I want are 47 members of Congress supporting me, not when I want to go out and fight for term limits for Congress and fight to close a revolving door, the things that critically need to be done to boost our trust in our institutions of power. I don't want to be seen as doing the same old thing.
All right, let me ask you this, because I did the entrance poll coverage last night. We got a very interesting look at what was on people's minds, okay? And it basically broke down to two things among the front runners last night, which were Rick Santorum and Mitt Romney, of course. Eligibility. So the question of, do you think this person could beat President Obama? Very important to a lot of the folks who answered those polls. They felt that Mitt Romney was the only person in that group. He won that entire category. So you've got the eligibility issue. Then the other big winner, Rick Santorum, got the conservative vote. They said, who do you think is the true conservative out there? And why would you vote for him? Rick Santorum got all of that. So far in the polls, Governor Huntsman, you have not, registered perhaps on either one of those things, on somebody who can beat President Obama or somebody who's seen as a true conservative. So how are you going to make up that ground?
Oh, I have to correct you on both counts. The rap on me has been he can go on to win the general election, as proven by a very lengthy analytical piece done by the New York Times a couple of months ago under every scenario they put forward. I was the only candidate in the race who actually beat Barack Obama. So the electability thing is very real. And number two, why is it that George Will and Eric Erickson and others are coming around and saying we didn't pay close enough attention to Huntsman when we first looked at him, because on closer inspection, he has the most consistent conservative record of anyone in the race. Pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, the largest tax cut ever delivered in the history of his state, along with a flat tax, health care reform without a mandate, the second voucher bill for education reform in the entire country.
Yeah, that's absolutely
true. I support the Ryan plan. The list goes on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of those people have written very favorable stories about you. And I guess the question is, if those folks are supporting you, the Wall Street Journal has said great things about your record as governor. So the question is, why hasn't the fire sort of caught on? Why is that? Why is it that you have not been? Why aren't you doing better in the polls? And why did you decide not to compete in Iowa? Why didn't you go and press all of those things on the people of Iowa?
It was our decision, Martha, from the very beginning. We got into this race late to put our chips down in New Hampshire. It's a primary here. It isn't a caucus. You have a much more broad-based turnout. And I think because of that broad-based turnout, you're able to prove the very important issue of electability. So when we beat market expectations here in New Hampshire, we will prove the point of electability as we're doing with each passing day. We've gone from last place when we first started here in New Hampshire to last night and today. The polls now have us overtaking Newt Gingrich for third place. And I say, I never would have imagined that. And we keep rising and rising because of the 150 public events we have done here in the state, proving that people still want the candidate to earn their vote.
Well, Karl Rove clearly thinks you're a contender in New Hampshire, because last night he said right here on our set that he thinks this is going to be a man-on-man race between you and Mitt Romney in New Hampshire. So are you going to do sort of what Mitt is accused of doing to Newt Gingrich in terms of going after his record in the next 6 days?
Listen, we're going after my record, most importantly, which is to say, #1 state for job creation when I was governor, the best place in which to do business. I lived overseas 4 times, 3 times as a United States ambassador. People want to know what I can do for this country and my vision going forward. They've looked at Mitt Romney for years. They've seen that instead of #1 as a job creator, he was number 47 in Massachusetts, raised taxes $750 million as opposed to cut them as I did, healthcare reform with a very government-centric and costly mandate. The differences are there for people to see, and they're beginning to understand them. And I think that's why we're pulling ahead in the polls.
Well, Governor Huntsman, we thank you very much. It's going to be a fascinating 6 days to watch and to see if you can pull off the kind of thing that we saw Rick Santorum do. And Rick Santorum, of course, is going to be in New Hampshire as well, so you'll have to contend with him out there as well.
And I have high regards for Rick Santorum. He worked hard. Thank you very much.
Good to talk to you, sir. Nice to see you again, Governor Huntsman.
Always a pleasure.
Joining us
Thank you.
from New Hampshire, where he spent quite a bit of time in